Hello guys, welcome to today's session in Quantsapp. Today I will be talking about how you can trade with Trendline effectively. Now before starting the video, if you are new here, you can go in the description. There is a link below. With the help of that, you can download and install the Quantsapp web application. After successful registration, you will get some free 25 tools here that you can use for your trading. Okay. Also in the application, there is a learn section, and in the video library, you will get multiple videos based on Pro Plus tools as well as on the strategies, right? So you can watch them. They are available in multiple languages, right? For example, English, Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi and Tamil as well, right? So you can choose your preference as well. Now at any point of time, if you guys are having any kinds of doubts or query, so you can go in the support section and you will get our contact number and email ID, right? So you can contact us and we will be there to sort your queries out, right? So that was it, and let's get back to today's session. That was how you can trade with Trendline effectively. Now for that, let me clear some basics with you, and then we will go to the application directly, right? Now when I'm talking about Trendline, okay, so when I'm talking about Trendline, okay, now what is Trendline? So as the name suggests, the line which shows us the trend, that is known as the trend line, right? It is very simple. The line which shows us the trend, that is known as the trend line. Now it can be of two types. It can be your uptrend line, okay, so that will show you the uptrend, okay, and it can be downtrend line. It can be downtrend line that shows you the downtrend, okay. So it can be your uptrend or it can be your downtrend, right? Now how it looks like, okay, so I'll also show you once, okay, how it looks like. Now whenever there is a uptrend, okay, whenever there is a uptrend and your market is going in the bullish direction, for example like this, okay, now how it is a uptrend? Because there is a, every time there is a new high, every time there is a new high, every time there is a new low. So this was your first low, then this was your second low, then this was your third low, right? And every time there is a new high, right? And you can see your previous low is not breaking, and every time there is a new high, so that is why it is a uptrend. And if the lows are in a same line, you can say, then this line is known as your uptrend line. Okay, when all of your lows, all of your swing lows, they fall in a same line, okay, so it means this is your uptrend line, right? Now similarly the case will be in the downtrend line. So for suppose there was a downtrend, okay, like this. So every time I can see, every time there is a new low. So this was your first low, then your second low, then your third low, okay, then this is your fourth low, okay, and every time there is a new high, okay, and you can see your low is breaking every time, okay, but the high is not breaking every time, okay. So that means this is your downtrend, and if the lows will fall in the same line, then this line will be known as your downtrend line, okay. So it is very simple, right? So it was your downtrend line and this was your uptrend line, okay. But it is very mandatory for the trend line, okay, that your all lows will be falling at the same line, right? Okay. Now there are some few rules that we will looking into, right? So for example, the first rule is never force your trend line, okay, never force your trend line, right? Now what this actually means, okay, if there is a low, for example this was your trend line, okay, this was a low, so this low is not falling in a line. If I'll create a trend line here, so this low and this low is falling on the same line, but I can clearly see this low is not falling on the same line, so you don't have to force it, right? आप ऐसा नहीं करोगे, ठीक है, कि एक ट्रेंड लाइन बनाओगे जिसमें ये आपका ऐसे करके और फिर इस ट्रेंड लाइन को ऐसे कुछ भी बना रहे हो, right? So that will not be correct, right? So that will not be counted as your trend line. ठीक है, so first rule is never force your trend line. The second rule is always count, there should be okay 3 lows, at least 3 lows तो वहां पे बने ही होने चाहिए, ठीक है. So if there will be 3 lows, only then I'll treat it as my trend line, okay. If there are 3 lows, only then I'll treat it as my ट्रेंड लाइन. अगर 3 लोज होंगे, सो दैट वी यू कैन काउंट इट एज अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग ट्रेंड लाइन, ठीक है. अगर 2 लो मिल जाएंगे तो वहां पे आप ट्रेंड लाइन बोल सकते हो कि ठीक है ट्रेंड लाइन है, मॉडरेट ट्रेंड लाइन. बट इफ देयर विल बी 3 लोज एंड द मार्केट इज एक्चुअली रिस्पेक्टिंग योर ट्रेंड लाइन, सो दैट विल बी योर वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग ट्रेंड लाइन. Okay, so that was your second point. Third point is the lows should be made. The lows should be made. The lows should be made on a regular time interval. On a regular time interval. Now what it means, for example, you have a trend line like this. Okay, you have a trend line like this. Now all the lows are falling in the same line, right? Now these lows should be on a regular time interval. For example, the gap between from this low to this low, it is 15 minutes. Okay, so the time frame for the next interval, it should also be approximately 15 minutes. It could be 12 to 20 minutes or 15 minutes, right, or 13 minutes, but it should not be like 1 day or 2 hours. Okay, because we want the lows should be falling on a same time interval, राइट, और अप्रोक्सीमेटली सेम टाइम इंटरवल. ठीक है, तो अगर ये मेरा 10-15 मिनट के बीच बाद एक लो बना है तो अगला भी मेरे को 10-15 मिनट के बाद ही चाहिए होगा. ऐसे नहीं कि एक दिन के बाद बन रहा है तो आप उसको भी काउंट कर रहे हो. दैट विल नॉट बी काउंटेड इन योर ट्रेंड लाइन. ओके, और यू कैन से योर ट्रेंड लाइन विल नॉट बी दैट मच इफेक्टिव अगर आप उस तरीके से बनाओगे तो. ठीक है, सो दैट वाज योर थर्ड रूल. नाउ लेट्स डायरेक्टली गो ऑन द एप्लीकेशन एंड लेट्स सी हाउ वी कैन यूज दिस कंसेप्ट. ठीक है, टू ट्रेड. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू हैव टू गो इन द एनालाइज सेक्शन एंड इन द चार्ट्स ट्रेड ऑर्डर यू विल बी डायरेक्टली आपके सामने ये चार्ट ओपन हो जाएगा. सो राइट नाउ आई हैव ओपन द चार्ट ऑफ निफ्टी हियर. ठीक है, नाउ आई वाज गेटिंग सम कमेंट्स कि थोड़ा स्टॉक्स के भी एग्जांपल लिया करो. सो आज हम थोड़े से स्टॉक्स के एग्जांपल लेके चलेंगे. ओके, सो फर्स्ट लेट्स सी which stock should I pick. Let's pick TCS. Okay, so I have opened the chart of TCS and the time frame I am selecting is 5 minutes. If I'm making my trend line in 5 minutes, so I'll trade in 1 minute. Okay, so that is the thing here. Okay, so let's see if I'll get some trend line here. Okay, so I can see a trend line at this point, right? Okay, so there is a trend line. Let me make it for you. Okay, so this was a trend line for me. Just a second. ओके, देखो ये एक ट्रेंड लाइन है यहाँ पे. ओके, लेट मी मेक इट फॉर यू. जस्ट अ सेकेंड. थोड़ा सा टच सेंसिटिव है, सो आई एम नॉट एबल टू ड्रॉ इट प्रॉपरली ऑन द बोर्ड. ओके, okay, now it is correct, right? So you can see here I got one touch here. Okay, I got one touch here, then the second touch was here, then there was a third touch, then there was fourth touch, and then there was a fifth, and you can clearly see there was a breakout of this trend line. Now why there was not a movement in the downward direction? Breakdown तो हुआ, but movement क्यों नहीं आया? Now the question remains, why there was not a good movement in the downward direction? Why? Because there is one more rule that you can note it down somewhere. Okay, always make sure to use your trend line with support and resistance, or you can say supply and demand zones, right? Okay, let's see, right? If this is breaking my trend line, so it should be going like this, right? But gaya nahi. Why? Because there is one thing that you can see, there was a very strong support, right? You can see there is a very strong support यहाँ पे बना हुआ था, and that is why market it sustained here and the price rejected and went in the upward direction. Now what could be the possibility कि ये नीचे जाता? Okay, so see, I could have gotten two confirmations here. First, my trend line was broken out. Okay, so that was the first confirmation for me. Now I will apply another confirmation with the help of support here. Okay, so I'll draw a support. ठीक है, ये मैंने यहाँ पे सपोर्ट बनाया. Now at any point of time अगर ये सपोर्ट भी ब्रेकआउट हो जाता, right, with the red candle, so then I could have made my entry, और वो एंट्री अगर मैं बनाता तो तब जाके मेरे को एक बहुत अच्छा मूव इसमें मिल जाता. Right, so that was the thing. Always use your trend line with a confirmation, otherwise your trend line will not be that much effective, right? Use it with support and resistance and zones, right? Let's see some other example. किसी दूसरे स्टॉक को उठाते हैं. So now I am opening the chart of some other stock. Let's say Bata India. Okay, so let's say Bata India, and in Bata India let me see if there is a trend line. Okay, so I can see a trend line here. Just a second. Let me see where my trend line is. Okay, I can see there is a trend line. Okay, so let me draw it for you. See, you can see there is a trend line at this level, right? I think I have not drawn it properly. Okay, so I'll try to make it with a straight line. Okay, you can see I have drawn the trend line. Okay, so now you can see there was one touch here, second touch here, third touch here, and then it broke out. Okay, broke out of this trend line. Now again, why there was not a good movement in the upward direction? Because there was a resistance at this point. Okay, so it was acting as a support here, and now it was acting as a resistance. So what could be the movement for us? What could be the trade for us? अगर इसने इसको ब्रेक कर दिया ट्रेंड लाइन को अपवर्ड में, देन वी शुड वेटेड लाइक व्हेन इट विल ब्रोक दिस रेसिस्टेंस एज वेल. ओके, एट दैट टाइम वी विल मेक अवर एंट्री. Okay, so now you learned a point here that you will always use trend line. You will always use trend line with a confirmation of resistance or support, right? And whenever this combination will give you a breakout together, only then your trend line will be making a good move, and you will be effectively using your trend line as well as your support and resistance, right? So it could be support, it could be resistance, it could be your supply and demand zone as well. But always use this thing with your trend line. Okay, so that was the you can say a sweet spot for you, right? जो मैंने आपके लिए बचा के रखा था. तो ट्रेंड लाइन ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारे लोग ट्रेंड लाइन में ट्रेड करते हैं, ठीक है, बट दैट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग कि ऑलवेज यूज दिस विद अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ सपोर्ट रेसिस्टेंस, अदरवाइज यू विल बी गेटिंग फेक ब्रेकआउट्स इन योर ट्रेंड लाइन. Okay, now one more thing, whenever you will get a breakout in your trend line, whenever you will get a breakout of your trend line, so just don't jump into the trade. Okay, क्या करना है? Whenever you will get a breakout, just wait for the candle to close. Okay, and then when this candle will close, just mark the high of that candle. Okay, and then you can take the trade when your market will break that high. So that will be your entry point. Okay, so that was the thing guys. I hope आपको आज का जो सेशन है वो अच्छा लगा होगा, कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा, क्योंकि काफी टाइम से यू गाइज बी यूजिंग ट्रेंड लाइन, बट आज हमने उस एक नया तरीका बताया कि हाउ यू कैन यूज इट विद इफेक्टिवली विद अ कॉम्बिनेशन, राइट? सो अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आए, यू कैन लाइक इट, यू कैन शेयर योर व्यूज इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. इफ यू आर न्यू हियर गाइज, यू कैन ऑल्सो सब्सक्राइब द चैनल. थैंक यू सो मच. दिस इज योर ट्रेनर अंकित सिंह रावत. हैव अ वेरी गुड डे.